I'm going to call the September 18th meeting of the White Bear Lake Conservation District to order. We have a quorum, so that takes care of items 1 and 2 on the agenda. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Does anybody have any additions or deletions? Mike?
Under lake quality, underneath the proposal to purchase buoys, another item, non-native phragmites. Phragmites. That's it for me.
Okay, any others? Well, I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That passes. So item 4 is approval of the prior board meeting minutes. Does anybody have any corrections, additions to the August 21st meeting minutes? Okay, would anybody like to make a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
And 2 seconds to approve the August 21st meeting minutes. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That passes. Public comments. We allow 15 minutes for that. Brian, would you like to make any comments? Okay.
I guess the question is the same one as last month about the meetings for the commercial bay, whether we got something scheduled. And Mark and I have been trading calls on getting some clarification on boat counts. I think that I'm in compliance and can demonstrate that, but I want to give Mark an opportunity to talk about that, and him and I can do that offline.
Sure. Okay, and yes, we are trying to arrange a meeting for the Boatworks Bay or Commercial Bay area.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we're at a point in the meeting where we allow public comment for items that aren't on the agenda. If anybody would like to, okay, then we'll move on. Item 6, new business. I don't have any new business. And 7, unfinished business. I don't have any unfinished business. So we're on to item 8, reports and action items. The executive committee. As I just mentioned to Brian, the executive committee discussed the idea of having a meeting with the dock owners in the Boatworks Bay or the Commercial Bay area, and we're in the process of getting a date finalized, and then we will notify those dock owners of the meeting date and time and location, and hopefully we can get everybody there. The next item, we also discussed a tour of White Bear Lake with the local communities, and we used to do that in the past. However, the attendance was dwindling from the member communities, and so we haven't done it for a few years, but our thinking is that it might be nice to do that again, and we're planning to have a tour of the lake with the member communities sometime next spring, early summer, once the ice is out of the lake, obviously, and people are available. Any questions on those items?
How does that work? Do you like rent a boat or something and tour the lake?
Make them
or-
swim.
I think in the past, but can somebody correct me if I misspeak, I think in the past we've been able to use the Let's Go Fishing boat and maybe others, and,
There's been private pontoons also.
yep, and people have offered the use of their pontoons. Any other questions on the executive committee report? Okay, moving on. Lake Quality Committee, Mike?
Lake quality, lake level today is 923.67. 923.67. That's 3/100 of a foot higher than last month at this time, which is like no difference at all. It's 8 inches higher over last year at this time. Water temperature is 72 degrees. It was 76 last month, and last year at this time it was 68, so it's been warm a little bit later this year. Proposal to purchase buoys. You should have at your place a quote for getting buoys. We need a couple shallow water buoys. These are the 5-inch ones, the real slender ones. We have some in the office, some bigger ones, which we will be replacing a number of buoys. We're kind of hitting the end of the life of a few of the buoys, so we'll have all 6 new buoys then for next year. So the buoys, there's 2 buoys. The total is $318, including freight. And I called and got a quote that was higher, and then Kim called and got a quote that was lower, so she's gonna do all the quote calling from now on, and for the same item. And we're budgeted for 300, so we'd be $18 over budget. I'd like to make a motion that we order these buoys.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to order the buoys at a cost of $318. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That passes.
Thank you. Kim, can you go ahead then and order them? Sure. Okay. And then the last thing that we added on was non-native phragmites. August 29th, Scott Costello and myself started getting some emails. The Ramsey County Soil and Water Conservation District found non-native phragmites. What they are, it's a grass or a reed, and there are native phragmites and there's non-native. The native ones have a green stalk. They're in the lake. They're around the lake. It's a shoreline plant, and they're over in the weeds by Mataska Park and that. And they're friendly to wildlife, and they're soft and amenable. The non-native ones are from the Middle East, and they have a kind of a woody stalk, and they grow 10 to 12 to 15 feet, and in some cases 19 feet high. They would block out the frontage if somebody had them across the front of their shoreline, although they're in the water, so they're kind of our responsibility. They crowd out, they're very aggressive, and they crowd out the other native species, so they're something that you want to get rid of. They've actually been in the United States out on the East Coast since the 1700s, but they've slowly worked their way over because every time they show up, they try to kill them and get rid of them, and so it's hard getting over. They finally found their way some way or another into the Midwest. So there was somebody out paddling on a paddleboard, obviously, and he was from Turtle Lake, and he found them on Turtle Lake 2013, I think it was, and figured out what they were, kind of became involved in getting them treated. They had them treated, they disposed of them, and they so far have, they don't have them back anymore. He found them, since Turtle Lakes and Shoreview, he went to the Ramsey County Soil and Water Conservation District, and they got all excited about it and talked about it since August 29th up until today. And it looked pretty much like they were going to do something, and now it looks like they're not going to do something. I've been talking to Keegan Lunn at the DNR about it, and he today just asked them point blank, are you going to do something? And there was no response. So we don't know, but we don't think they are, because the last word that somebody said, who wants to take on this project? And then they identified somebody, and he said, well, I don't think I have the time. I don't think I have it in my budget. And he kind of, maybe next year, maybe. So in the meantime, so I'm talking to the DNR, and they said, well, they'll go out and delineate it. We do have a delineation from the, I guess the amateur hydrologist, I'll call him, from Turtle Lake, who does know his stuff. Keegan Lynn at the DNR said he's very astute in knowing this particular plant. Anyhow, DNR said that they would identify it and they would go out and delineate it for us if we so choose to treat it. I emailed Steve McComas and our consultant, our limnologist consultant, and he said, what I think you should do is you should, this fall, treat it and then see what happens in the spring, rather than wait till next year, because it's a rhizome, so the roots grow, and it has these seed packets on it now that, you know, if we treat it, we can maybe kill that. And so before it explodes, he said, just treat it. He didn't say before it explodes, he just said, treat it now, and then just see what happens in the spring and deal with it. It's not as expensive as milfoil to treat. In fact, it's a lot cheaper. They spray the herbicide Isano something, and there's another one too. Those names are crazy, but anyhow, there's an approved herbicide that will kill it, knock it down. And Lake Management, who does our Eurasian water milfoil treatment, can do this and does it and did do it for Turtle Lake and did a good job. They treated in July, actually, when they found it, and then they treated again in August because it didn't knock it down completely. And so I would suggest that, you know, Lake Management would be the place to go. The question is, do we want to do it this fall, or do we want to wait till spring? Or do we want to wait and see if Ramsey County Soil and Water Conservation is going to do anything? I think that's the first thing I'll do is you know, they didn't answer, the DNR asked them point blank, are you going to do it? And they have not answered it, but that was just today. All this stuff developed today over the, you know, since this morning until about 2 o'clock, and then the emails kind of died off.
Yeah.
I would suggest we wait a few days, but since we only meet once a month, we need to have a plan. So I suggest that we approve some money to treat it up to, if needed, and do it this fall, and then see what happens. And then, with the help of the DNR, identify what this plant, well, we know what it looks like. I've got the information here that you can look at afterwards. And identify it, and possibly through with our education committee, I've talked to Scott already about this, that the shoreland people, as we did with purple loosestrife a number of years ago, can identify it and pull it up themselves to keep it down, to get rid of it. But the first thing is to probably attack the first wave of it coming in and seeing how hard we can hit it. So not knowing what it would cost, and not knowing how many acres we have, Turtle Lake had 3 sites that totaled 2 acres? No, less than 2 acres.
I remember.
Much less, a little bit less than 2 acres. The treatment cost was $450. But they spent $3,000 getting it cleaned up by beachcombers, the people that clean up the lake. We're not talking about cleaning it up right now. We just want to knock it
Yeah,
down.
well,
kill
that's
it.
the advantage doing it. The fall, it's gonna die anyway.
Yeah.
So you know, there'd be no ugly dead stuff in June, you know, if we
Yeah.
did it then.
We just want to knock it down,
Yeah.
dead, bong, gone. So, first of all, wait a few days, see if Ramsey County steps up. Second, if they don't, have the DNR go out, delineate, and have it treated as soon as possible. How much is it going to cost? I have no idea.
We have more spots that that
We
guy
have about
cited.
14.
You know, so it'd be a lot, it's gonna be bigger than Turtle Lake, but
Yeah.
judged on their $400, you know, you'd think that, we would probably be safe by approving up to, I don't know, 5,000-6,000.
Yeah, well, before the meeting, I thought 6, but, you know,
Okay, 6. Well, then you're covered.
yeah, probably. We have 14 spots, but some of them might be a clump this big and some might be a bigger clump, but it's the first time it's been discovered, it's the first time we're seeing it. It is a non-native. It should be eliminated because it's harsh. It will attack the bulrushes. You know, worst case scenario, all the weeds in the Mataska area could turn to this type of a weed and grow to be, you know, 15 feet tall. Let me send some pictures around of somebody standing in front of it and where it's located.
Papyrus.
So I guess I make a motion that we approve up to $6,000 for the potential treatment of non-native phragmites in White Bear Lake. for this fall, as soon as possible.
Put a time frame on it. October 1st?
I'd like to, yeah, well, I'd like to get out and do it as fast as the DNR can produce a map and as fast as Lake Management can get out there. So now I'm dealing with two people that I don't know how fast they're gonna work. But they say there's still plenty of time this fall to treat it.
Okay.
So it'd be as absolutely physically as fast as possible.
Okay. You moved it? Have you made your motion?
I made the motion.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second to spend up to $6,000 to treat the invasive. And so is there any discussion? And I'll ask.
Yeah.
So is there any benefit to trying to hit it twice this fall? Or is the idea that, well, let's get it at least once, and and then make a decision based on that? Or,
It's, through the emails and what the people are saying is that once it's treated, it takes 6 weeks to knock it down. So I would guess that that wouldn't leave you much to look at in 6 weeks,
Right.
as far as the treatment, because you're pretty far into fall.
Yeah, I think the idea would be knock it down and see what comes back up.
Yeah.
next spring? Yep,
Yeah.
right on.
You know, and then maybe Ramsey County can come in and dance
Well, I
around
think
it for a while.
once we open our cash box, that we're not gonna see them again.
But at least we could have that discussion with them over the winter and
Yes,
give
we
them a
can.
chance to budget a bit if
Yeah.
that's an option.
Certainly ask them to.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That passes.
That's it for me.
Okay, we're on to the Lake Utilization Committee. Mark?
And nothing on my agenda, but just an update, just to kind of dovetail off what you said about the meeting about Commercial Bay. There's some things that after we get the ordinances all tightened up and done and looking neat and tidy again, some of the things we'd like to talk about would be everybody around the lake has to return to traditional where they were when we were at ordinary high water, which we are again. Let's see, would also like to say for boat counts that I'm gonna, over the winter, take some bids for a drone company, and we'll be doing drone flights over the Commercial Bay a couple times a month to get boat counts and accurate boat counts, find out if the same boats are in the same spots. Also, would be proposing something that any marina that's over their allotted, the following year would be docked that amount. So if you had a license for 50 and found you had 55, next year you only get a license for 45. And then that any boat's a boat, whether it's rented one way or the slip is rented, it's a boat. So,
So is the point that we would change our ordinances to affect that? Or,
eventually, yeah, but that would be an over the winter sort of thing. And we've got
Okay.
time. No, nothing's going to change right away, but we're trying to get a meeting together
Yeah.
with everyone in Commercial Bay in the meantime.
yeah, because Alan did, well, this looks fairly tidy. I don't know how really tidy it is. But as far as you're concerned, we've got that now.
Yeah, okay.
And we need to get it on our website and then,
Yeah, I don't want to mess with anything until all that gets
yeah,
taken care of. I don't want to throw fire on,
Okay.
oil in the fire.
Any questions for Mark? Okay, thank you, Mark. Lake Education Committee, Scott?
yeah, everything's going well with the new website. We're getting some statistics on a weekly basis. It doesn't really mean a whole lot, but we do have that kind of feedback. We have, Alan just handed me the cleaned up ordinances. So we'll have to figure out how to get those on there. And with regards to this invasive non-native phragmites, we're going to, well, I think we'll wait we're going to figure out what we're going to do, but we need to be able to tell people what they can do with these phragmites, how to recognize them, what they can legally do with them. And hopefully there's enough stuff on the web that we can put that together fairly easy. We could ask the DNR for a few paragraphs, I guess. You know, it's kind of exciting news, fragmite invasion.
A new brochure would be appropriate.
Yeah, frags.
Star Trek.
Okay.
Middle Eastern ones at that.
And can we also, and just to because this is website related, can we also, when we do, assuming that we do some treatment, can we make sure to get that on the website so that
Yeah.
people are aware that that's going on?
Yeah,
All right,
we
thank
did
you.
that the last time.
Yep, right on.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I don't have anything else.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Treasurer's report, Diane?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Treasurer's report for September 2018. If you notice, this month, we paid Ramsey County for their water patrol, and I had Kim print out their contract that they gave us, and they showed how many boat safety checks and service calls they had, and so you can read over that, but that just kind of shows what we paid for. So with that said, I'd like to approve checks 4516 through 4524.
Second.
A motion and a second to pay these checks. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That passes. Board council report?
Evening, Chair and Board. I was hoping to meet with the Water Patrol this last month, and between vacations and other trainings, that didn't happen, but things, of course, get slower once boating season is over, so we thought we could be a little more intentional about it and handle it when they're not busy in boats. So we'll still get to that, and that's in response to some of the sort of ongoing public or private nuisances that have come up over this summer, so stay tuned for that excitement. As to what Scott said, I spent a fair amount of time. Essentially, you've now got a 50-page continuous PDF, much leaner and meaner than what was on the what is on the website now. So it's been syntaxed out, it's been punctuated correctly, it's just had a lot of cleanup done. I'm not done yet, but we're very close, and so now people, when they actually click on the link, it'll actually just give them basically a searchable database. And so some of the cleanup I'm going to do is get rid of some of the awkwardness of the, well, this is really, I mean, when your numbering goes to 5 to 16, things like that. I'm not sure that the public really cares about seeing those things, but if I were the public, I would be very concerned about what happened to 7 through 12 or whatever that gap was. But I gave a draft of it to Mr. Costello to look at, so hopefully
Okay,
it
so
meets
the
your
point is to
approval.
look at it, get back to you.
Yeah, take a peek at that. It's a work in progress, but I mean, it's a
Yeah,
pretty
okay,
substantial
so
document.
we shouldn't be sticking stuff on the website quite yet, you're saying?
Well, it's functional now. We're towards the end of boat season, so I don't see a whole lot of need to have it.
We'll just have to figure out how we want, if it's just like open up this PDF rather than click on all these individual things
It
that
is.
aren't connected.
It is. The idea is that you have a one-stop, I mean, it's going to be such a light-duty document as far as space goes, that it would just come down into your local computer, and then you pull it up with a PDF, with an Acrobat reader, and then you can pull in whatever your interest is, and it'll go to that section of the PDF. So it'll be a lot easier than clicking from ordinance to ordinance, which was what I didn't find very helpful about the ones that are up there. Some of them are in various forms of Word, so someone could logically go onto the website, download it, change it, and then come into court or any other place and say, well, this is what your ordinance says. So we want to get away from that, of course.
Yeah.
And some of them come up
No,
as
we might
PDFs.
Want to just have an introduction to what it is and what kind of stuff is in there
Yeah.
without
And like I said,
actually.
it's a working document, so the bulk of the hard work is done. So like I said, when you click on them and it kind of reflows into stuff that really doesn't look very good or read very well, now that it's PDF'd into something that'll always load the same way. Anyway, so it's coming right along, and that was my commitment to the board last time. So we're just about there. It certainly is loadable as is, and it's just a PDF, so it'll take the place of all of the existing language, basically. And it'll
Right.
just say, you know, please go to our ordinances, and you'd click, and that's what would come up, or that's what would download. So, and as far as future work goes with the commercial bay, you know, we'll have to talk maybe in executive session about how we want to approach that. whether it's a civil penalty for exceeding your slip count. I understand the motivation behind that, you know, because the DNR, as far as I think we've discovered, is a boat's a boat's a boat. They don't really care if it's a, you know, pontoon that you drag out with rescue equipment, or if it's a grumpy old man fishing boat or a sea ray. So to them, the marinas are permitted for a certain amount of slips, is my understanding. And so not only can we not exceed that, but neither can they. So anyway, look forward to working on that too. I know those are a couple of issues that we've been grappling with. So anyway, stay tuned, I guess. I think I gave Brian my schedule for when I can be available for that meeting. And so I don't think I've heard back to when we've gotten it settled down for yet.
That's right.
Okay. And I would stand for questions otherwise.
Any questions for Alan? Okay, thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
Item 9, consent agenda. Diane?
I was wondering, could I say something about the Lake Level Resolution Committee? I'm not on there, but,
Oh, sure.
okay. Yeah, we did try and meet on July 26th, which was a Thursday, and Mike Downing and I basically showed up, and we had a discussion. So, you know, I put together a packet which kind of briefed sort of the lake level issues, and I guess Margaret Behrens, she tried to show up, and somehow the door wasn't open. I don't know the whole story, but nonetheless, anyway, the consensus appeared to be that Mike Downing was not really interested in continuing these meetings, although there is a bit of a discrepancy about whether we should proceed with the Lake Level Committee, Resolution Committee or not. And anyway, that's really where it's at as far as we did try and meet. There wasn't a lot of response, and but Mike Downing believes that, there is definitely something that we should be working on, and as a preventative measure for possible future consequences. And I know that Jeff does not think that way, and so that's really where we're at. We don't have very much momentum, but anyway, we did try and meet, and I put together a packet, and otherwise, it's been postponed. The imputation of the water ban has been forestalled by Chapter 181 and was signed into law in May of this year by Governor Dayton. So there's no effect. They're not putting into effect the decision until at least one more year. So that's all I have. I just wanted to say we tried to do something, and there isn't very much motivation right now to do any sort of activities, although we are authorized under this resolution, Lake Level Resolution Committee, to have such activities. So that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Barton. Item 9, consent agenda. Diane?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That passes. Announcements. Kim?
I don't have any.
Okay, well, thank you for that. And so I have an announcement. First off, I'd like to thank everybody for being here tonight, and then just ask that if you're unable to make it, just let Kim know so that we know if we're going to have a quorum or not before we all show up, and we would all appreciate that. And we're on to item 11, adjournment.
Brian,
Oh, yeah.
sorry, can I go back to number 6? I didn't know that there was an opportunity. I just have a question since Brian's here. I don't know what Mark, in the past, we've talked about the noise ordinances on the lake, and I got 2 texts on Sunday, September 9th, and they just asked me to bring this to the committee and ask what the process is. The large boat was out on the lake, and people were entertaining, and apparently it was quite loud, and now I'm down in the back corner, so I didn't hear it, but the people that were on the other side of the peninsula, 2 of them texted me and said, this is way too loud, and it was 9:30 or 9:15 on Sunday night when these texts started rolling in, and I didn't know what to do, and I didn't have an answer for them. So I know in the past, Mark, you've said just call the police, and I'm like, well, I'm not calling the police. I mean, that just didn't seem right to me. But on the flip side, is there? I guess my question to you is there somebody we can call if should that happen? Then the big boats out there making to the bar, and they have a walkie-talkie or some way to make sure these guys turn it down. Because I guess it was. Do you know the night I'm talking about? September 9th, last Sunday. Okay.
I know that we no longer allow DJs, because that's when you lose control of the music. We can control the volume. When anyone agrees to get out in the middle of the lake, and then it's a different deal. You know, I talked to Mike Brown, I committed to him that we're not gonna do any DJs, and if someone doesn't like it, then they can go somewhere else, I guess. But,
Okay.
that's been, what the issue is, because we all like different music. We like
Right.
different volumes, we have to be respectful of people that live in the area.
Right.
Well, I see the boat out a lot, and I haven't seen any problems or heard any problems since Mother's Day, which we brought up with you, and everything is fine since then. So,
Right. Yeah, I hadn't heard either, and I think most people are pretty happy with the boat out there. I think they just, it was a Sunday night and it got a little crazy, and I was like, I'm not sure what to do. I guess you could call the police, but there's obviously no water patrol out there at 9 PM on a Sunday, so I didn't know what the solution was for that. But I wanted to bring that to your attention on behalf of the 2 residents who called me.
Thank you. Okay, now we're on to item 11, adjournment.
so moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That passes. Thank you all. We're adjourned.
I don't think Matamita should have to pay for any of that, because none of those.